feels like Earth. Hey Best Pally, I'm Allie, and barefoot style shoes are super awesome for your health, which I'll tell you about in a bit, but barefoot shoe companies think they're only for rich people. Most of them are super expensive, so in a past video I attempted to make my own homemade and it turned out odd. In this video I have a new technique that will hopefully perfect the budget barefoot shoe for all of us. To create, we're going to need silicone, something to shoot the silicone, cornstarch, food coloring if you want to get fancy, something to mix in, something to mix with, toe separated socks, different colors optional, a roll of packaging tape. I'm using used packaging tape because if you're not a new Pally, this may look unfamiliar. I just moved and I used all my packaging tape on the boxes. Hand protective gear, breath protective gear, although I'm outside so I may not need it. This is very well ventilated. We're gonna make a kind of putty for the sole of the shoe with this silicone and cornstarch and color it with the food coloring. I've heard this called oogoo or proto-putty, although you can buy it already mixed. It's called sugru, but it's very expensive for a small amount. This is the silicone I got to make spacers for my barbell a long time ago, and it is broken and dried on the inside. BRB. They have color. Did you know they make black and silver silicone? That's awesome, which will go perfectly with my two different colored socks. Gloves on. We're starting by putting the cornstarch in. The reason I'm bringing this to you instead of you to look at what I'm doing is because this stuff sets up quickly. So as soon as I mix it, I gotta get it on my foot and then sit there until it fully dries. I guess I'll go with black first. Ready to go. And I have my toe spacers on. I'll tell you more about this once I'm stuck here waiting for my foot to dry. What do we think? Black sole on gray shoe and vice versa? That will look splendid. By the way, the reason I mismatch my shoes is also a health benefit, a social one. It helps me make friends. People are like, why don't your shoes match? And then that person is my new buddy. Because we then have something to talk about. Ow, I need to cut this thing. Maybe have some scissors too, if it's new silicone. But my scissors are at my old place, so we're using a knife, which worked acceptably. Now's when I get nervous. 3, 2, 1, we're just gonna bloop it in there. Oh, that is very slow. Let me just knife a little more aggressively. Okay, back to blooping. Much better. Got a lot of business going on in there. Now we mix. I think I got too much cornstarch. Maybe not. It's now getting pretty gooey. It's a weird kind of stringy. Forgot I gotta go fast on this. Oh, it's already getting thick. Whoa. It's sticking to my gloves. Cornstarch should stop that. There we go. It's looking pretty darn cool. It feels awesome. And the more cornstarch you add, the thicker it's gonna get, and I'm pretty sure it will set faster too. All right, time to reverse devil this sock. Give it a sol. Hopefully it'll stick, not to me, but to my foot. Definitely need to keep my fingers cornstarched. Okay, there we go. It's going on pretty thick, and I don't want that. Vivobarefoot shoes are 3 millimeters. I want to see if we can go even thinner than that. It's feeling pretty good. I'm getting used to the material. Last time I did this, I had to be conservative with the goo because I ran out of sugru. But this time we have plenty. Now I got to get this on before that dries because I don't know if they'll stick together once it's cured. And this stuff is fun. Making a bit of a mess. Really glad I did this outside. Right. Oh yeah, that's already starting to set up. Okay, hopefully they'll join together. The tricky part is to stop it from sticking to your fingers. You really gotta cornstarch a lot. Trying to get it nice and high past my heel, which was also a problem with the last ones. Yeah, I'm constantly getting more cornstarch on my fingers to make this easier to work with. There we go, that feels good. It's not setting as fast as I expected, which is nice because I am not doing this very speedily. The side look, I can, oh no. Okay, I'm beginning to understand why barefoot shoe companies charge so much. They're really hard to make. Trying to get a really nice finished edge around all of this. It keeps sticking to my fingers. I will say the sugru was super simple compared to what I'm doing right now. I did it in my living room and very cleanly. So I now also understand why they're able to charge a lot for that. It is seeming like I'm able to get it nice and smooth, and it is really satisfying. Oh no, is it starting to set up? Yeah, I'm having trouble pushing more into this edge. Now for the tough part. The toes. I was planning on telling you about my barefoot shoe collection while I was doing this, but it's taking too much of my focus. And also now they're covered in cornstarch. Now the tape is to go in between your toes so they don't stick together. All right, I gotta mix some more. Jeez, did I run out again? Turns out you need a lot more silicone than I thought. Thanks, phone. Okay, I got it. I programmed the side button to tell me that when I bump it sometimes. It seems to happen at the times when I need it. Yeah, I would have been better off getting that whole big tube that works with the gun as opposed to this smaller amount. But I do think I can pull it off with what I have left. It would just be nice to have extra. Stick to toe, not fingers. Come on. This is a blast. Molding around my toes. Taking some flexibility to see in between each one. Trying to make sure they're very covered all the way around. Messed up the heel. In between the toes is difficult, but I really want to make sure I got coverage. I don't want the elements coming up onto the sock. Or maybe we do. Honestly, I'd rather be actual barefoot. This is mostly for when People tell me no shirt, no shoes, no service. Okay. Now I just gotta repeat that, but in reverse. Okay, great. I got slightly better on the second one, maybe. So I learned a few things. One, you don't need a mixer. You should just put the putty right into the cornstarch and then mix it with your hand. Two, you should have a mixing container big enough to do that so you don't get cornstarch everywhere. I was able to get the left one off already, although my tape, blew away in the wind, so happy problem. I wasn't able to separate my toes, which means this is a different style. But that's awesome because it's basically like I made my own homemade built-in toe spacers into the shoe, which I've never heard of before, and you heard it first here, folks. I invented that. It is already starting to set up. Let's see if I can get this off easily. Nope. Okay. The leftover is starting to harden up, so let's wiggle my toes out before they get stuck in silicone forever. Stay intact, please. This is tougher. Care feet. Okay, it's looking a little bit rougher than the first one. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see when they dry. And while they're drying, let's discuss why barefoot style living is awesome, toe spacers, and my barefoot shoe selection. Please excuse the mess. This is pre-transformation. My new shed needs to shed its skin. It's a far cry from the gym I made before this, but we will get there. Now, the reason being barefoot, or as close to barefoot as possible, is awesome is because the alternative is awful. This is a normal shaped shoe, and feet do not look like this. I mean, they kind of do. Okay, this is what feet are supposed to look like. Oh, please ignore my socks. Clearly, I don't invest in socks, but I will in lots of shoes, especially because I'm wearing toe spacers. Look how wide it is up here. I do not have a point, but traditional shoes have a point. Now look at these barefoot shoes. They're wide. They give your foot space to exist how it should. But most people are not wearing this type of shoe, and so they're cramming their foot into this. And because we don't make feet-shaped shoes, we now have shoe-shaped feet. Yes, your feet will change shape and start becoming pointy and really unhealthy from non-barefoot shoes. The reason it's unhealthy is because you are meant to have a strong base and it affects everything else. If you lift barefoot, you will lift more. If you life barefoot, you will life more. And if you're teetering on crammed feet, that affects your ankle, up to your knee, up to your hip, all the way up. I'm convinced that barefoot shoes will make you smarter. And it's not just about width, it's about strength. A lot of barefoot shoes have very thin soles, which means your feet can also work the way they're supposed to and be strong. Having strong feet is awesome, and most people don't have it. And again, that will solve a lot of health problems from your arches all the way up to maybe your brain. So now you want to get rid of your shoe-shaped feet, don't you? You know where this is going? Toe spacers! Barefoot shoes will give your toes the space to be healthy and happy, but toe spacers will clearly jumpstart the process, give a lot more room. At first, you gotta do it for a very short amount of time. It actually may hurt, but then you work your way up. And I've been wearing these now every day for 2 years, and I may make a video about that. Let me know in the comments if you want to hear the journey. And it's pretty cool because I took a picture of my feet every month from shoe-shaped to now cave person, and the transformation is wild. I swear when I figure out how socks can make me healthier, I'll definitely invest in them. So now you understand why I invest. I feel so much better after having transitioned to barefoot. Let's discuss now my investments. These were my first ones. They're called Vivobarefoot, and they looked way better before I beat the crap out of them. But they are my workhorse. I wear them for walking and workout. And these are $180 unless you're an idiot like me and have to buy 2 different colors. My next investment was the Vibrams because I really wanted to feel what split toes were like. And also, they're thinner on the soles. This is 3 millimeters, and I believe this is 2.5. You know, getting really extra. 120 bucks for those. And then I got these for going out, which ended up turning into work shoes. But Origo are really cool. Another $120, but also feel worth it. And then these are reasonable. $50 for socks or whatever. They're called Skinners, and I do like them though. I made a whole video testing them out. Then we have the Vibrams, which are the coolest looking barefoot shoes. You can't even tell that you're being healthy in these. I wear these to everything social. I love them so much. When I bought these, it was impossible to look cool and barefoot, and now you can. Thanks, Vibrams. So these were $120 and totally worth it. And if you want to look as cool as me, link in the description. And then my tier lifters. Oh my goodness, I'm hugging shoes. You're watching me hug shoes. I love these so much. I made a whole video ranting about why they are a game changer for lifting. Go check that out because they are dope. And these were $200, but again, super worth it. Link in the description. Tomorrow we will find out if I surpassed all of that with my creation. And I realized when I said transition to barefoot, I should have mentioned that that is a thing. You shouldn't go from shoe-shaped feet to barefoot shoes or actual barefoot as a hard change. You gotta transition to it, the same thing that I said about the toe spacers. So try barefoot shoes for a short amount of time and start adding it in more and more to your workout diet until you get strong enough, and then you can do it all the time. And there's a really good example of this on my 10 weeks to barefoot video where I go all the way to hiking fully barefoot. Now, how do they look? Still pretty corn starchy, but they are rubbery and even more bendy than the Vibrams. Ooh. Now, how do they feel? Okay, those came out acceptably, and the toes are separated. So excited to try these on. Can I get my toes in? It was not any tougher to get these on than when I was just putting on the socks without silicone, so we're good. Ooh, that feels interesting. That feels like I gotta get the other one on. Oh, this is cool. I'm very connected to the ground. This one might be trickier because of the nature of what I did. The block that is my toes. Yeah, the pinky's a little troublesome, but otherwise, we're on. Wow, that's super interesting having the toe spacer within the shoe. It feels like a foot hug. I made it really tight. I can feel the cold of the grass. This is awesome. And this feeling is a part of why I wanted to perfect these homemade shoes. The feeling is so nice. It's like I have shoes on, but I don't have shoes on. And the added toe spreading feel on the right one is just so cool. What do you think of my sweet new kicks?
Looks like you walked in cement.
That like that's a cool thing?
No, opposite. They're like falling apart.
Well, okay, it was a tough build.
They're cracking, and you might as well just be barefoot.
That is a good point. So Christine brings up some excellent points. The craft quality on these is lacking, and I want to not blame myself. I had to work so quickly with the material. There was no way I was going to get this made really nicely and do it in time before it dried looking like that. This edge is coming up. I had so much trouble getting it to adhere to the sock. And the part that is adhered seems like it could pull away, yeah, pretty easily. And then where I joined the two different batches together, there is a seam and it's not staying together. To maybe make this work, I would have to do a huge batch and the entire sole in one go. There's no way I could be fast enough to do that. Yeah, the toes were a separate mix, so that's not good. I was gonna take these biking and hiking to test them out, but it is totally not even worth it. These are not practically usable. It's just such a bummer because they really do feel great and they look bonkers. Which is actually a feature, not a bug, because people would be like, what are those? And I could reply with a long diatribe about why barefoot style living is awesome. Again, my shoes would make new friends. This time, I can't think of a better way to do it, a way to pull it off. But if you have any ideas, let me know in the comments. So until then, I'm gonna keep paying a bunch of money for barefoot shoes and $0 for being actual barefoot. And if you like this, you'll like seeing why those red and black lifting shoes that I showed you are such a game changer. I'll put that down there for you. Hey Best Pally, I'm Allie, and I believe this new shoe is a game changer, and I am pumped on them. Wait a minute, I haven't tried them yet. So in this video, I will explain why I'm pumped on them, and then try them out to see if this disruptive new feature actually makes a difference with my